guest here tonight. Usually we have him on Thursday, but he's making a special appearance here on Saturday. It's QuackyTake, Quacky with Tommy. How's it going?
How's it going, Walt? Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I appreciate. I'll let everyone know I'm not exactly an expert in DFS here, but I'm going to do my best, and we're going to have a good time. And I'll be the example of what not to do, maybe, and Walt can correct me, and we can. We're going to have a good time. Hockey DFS I'm pretty good at, but NFL I'm not exactly the greatest. So looking forward to all your insight here today, Walt.
I can definitely vouch for that you being great at hockey DFS. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna do everything with these games. We're gonna go over the picks, gonna list the props I have, and then at the end we're gonna do some DFS stuff because you asked, it's like, hey, do you want to talk about the DFS tonight? I'm like, well, I'm gonna be doing on the show anyway, so why not just do it live and kind of think things through? Because I think I'm kind of settled on what I want my single entry lineup to be in the SPY. That's the $100 contest, 50,000 the first. But I'm kind of having like second thoughts, so just wanted to bounce ideas off someone. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're gonna get into everything. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. All that will be appreciated. We are 64 subs shy of 4,000, so slowly but surely getting there. If you really want to help us get there by the Super Bowl and help me not beg on Twitter, please hit subscribe. And please consider donating with Super Chats. We have some great Super Chats.
Yeah, we sure did.
On Thursday, Alan Stafford, I think $20, Stu and Red Eye with $50. It was amazing getting that sort of support. I always say that like these YouTube ads pay nothing. So really want to help keep the show going. These super chats would be the best way. Andrew commenting, I still think the 49ers will have their way with the Lions defense. I mean, we'll definitely get into that. It's not something I completely agree with, but I could see why you would think that. But anyway, let's get to the first game. So this line is creeping up to 4.5. There are some 4s still available. I'm seeing 4 at BetMGM. That's 4 minus 110. Bookmaker has 4 minus 113. But they're like FanDuel has 4.5, for example. So
yeah, Hard Rock. I just checked Hard Rock too for those of you that are stuck in Florida like I am. It's 4.5 already here too, so it is on the move.
We're saying stuck in Florida that's a bad thing. I wish I was down there. I was actually talking to Kenny about it because he moved down there from Minnesota, and I was like, man, I wish I was there because I am stuck here in Pennsylvania. Like it is a horrible state for sure. Probably not the worst, but I can name a few that are probably worse. But Florida sounds great to me, to be honest. But my wife wants nothing to do with the humidity, so I don't think we're moving there.
Right.
Anyway, I'm thinking about locking in Ravens minus 4 after the show is over because like you said, there's some 4.5s are popping up. The sharps are on the Ravens. So I think it makes sense to get the 4. 4 is not like a major key number or anything, but it's like a 4th tier key number. So, I'd rather have the 4 than the 4.5, obviously. Like I said, gonna lock in this the spread at 4. And I really am gonna do the dual picks of the month, the 7 units here, 7 units on Detroit. Okay. So because I love both these games. So anyway, before we get to the props, I know you like Baltimore on Thursday. Has anything changed for you, Tom?
Nothing's changed at all, really, with this pick. I'm not surprised to see this line. I should have probably locked it in at 3.5, but I was kind of waiting for both injury reports before I did. Even at 4.5 or 4, whatever you're getting it at, I still really like it here. Again, like I said on Thursday, the only thing keeping me from really, really, really loving it, like pick of the month style love, is the NFL wants Taylor Swift to the Super Bowl narrative. Which might be, may or may not be a thing, depending on the outcome. But I otherwise, from an X's and O's standpoint, from a feel standpoint, I love Baltimore here still. I think they're really going to roll them. So I think they could win by double digits. So.
Yeah, Northwest Seahawks fans saying this reminds me of the 14 AFC Championship game where, despite 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, one team was significantly better.
The 14-15 season or the 14-15 was Colts and Patriots in the Deflategate game.
Yeah, and I think Are you thinking of the 15 season? Yeah, I don't know. Was that the Brady over Manning? I mean, Manning over Brady.
Yeah, that was
At the
yeah
AFC
the
Championship.
following season. Yeah, 15-16 was Broncos 120-18 over the Patriots.
Okay,
That
same
one
13-14 season, which was
when Broncos versus Patriots. I think the Broncos won what 26 to was it 26-16 or something like that. I think because that was yeah, that was the year that they lost 43-8 to the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Sorry, I'm just the quacky memories coming out now.
yeah, yeah, I think it was the Broncos. The Broncos beat the Patriots.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so yeah, okay, yeah. I mean that makes sense. Yeah, Denver crushed New England. Yeah, Denver's a big most of the game.
Parallel Seahawks fan. Yeah, sorry, Walt. That's a good parallel here.
Yeah, I think so too. 26-16. Yeah, they won by 14. So yeah, I think that's a pretty apt comparison. And I think that you mentioned the injury report. Forgot to talk about that. We wondered on Thursday if Joe Thuney was going to play because he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Joe Thuney has been ruled out, so that's their best offensive lineman. They already struggle to tackle. I mean, I just don't know how they're going to block. Like I mentioned this before, but I think this game might remind me of Chiefs Buccaneers Super Bowl, where Mahomes just had no time in the pocket, and the Buccaneers just all over him. And I think the Ravens might treat him similarly. Although 1777 memorabilia says the Ravens got no chance to win this game. Wow, they're 4.5 point favorites. They have no chance. It's I mean, you could probably make a lot of money on the money line if you really think that.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear 1777. Put your thoughts in there as to what, because I know Walt and I both love the Ravens here.
Yeah, I definitely want to know why you think they have no chance. Andrew's saying I don't know why New England didn't run the ball at all. Blunt had 200 plus yards the previous week. I don't know. Baggage just announced that Pacheco will play for whatever that's worth. Yeah, I saw that he was pretty confident that he was going to play, so I'm not surprised there. That's a boost, but then again, like his blocking has taken a hit with Thuney out. So,
and Andrew Paul, that's funny that you say that about Blunt, because I remember, if I'm not mistaken, the following season maybe they learned their lesson in the AFC Championship game, because that was the deflate. What was that, 45-7? I think they won. Didn't Blunt have I know he had over 100 yards. He might have had like 2 or 3 touchdowns in that game against Andrew Luck and the Colts. That was the Deflategate game.
Yeah.
So maybe they learned after that game there, Andrew, because Blunt had some good seasons with them for sure.
Yeah. All right, so 1777 memorabilia explaining Ravens got a good team, but the refs will have a legacy game in this one. Okay, so that was what you were saying with Taylor Swift. Like, if the NFL really wants Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl, they're going to make sure that the Chiefs win. I think they're going to have to make sure a lot, because I think the Ravens are a lot better than the Chiefs. I think it's going to take a lot of bad calls, and that's why I'm like not that concerned about the officiating. I think this game is like pretty lopsided, and I talked about this on Thursday. Like, the Chiefs' results late in the year were not impressive. Running through them quickly, like they lost to the Packers, they lost to the Raiders on Christmas. They lost to the Raiders on Christmas. They had trouble putting away the Bengals with Jake Browning quarterback. They had trouble putting away the Patriots. Now, all these teams that I mentioned, none of them are that good. Like the Packers, sure, you could maybe make the case that okay, Packers probably the best team they've seen. They played.
But at that time, though, I'll interject. Well, the Packers didn't. I think that was right before they lost to the Giants, so they were still kind of Jekyll and Hyde at that time. They weren't the version of the Packers that we saw at the end of the season. But go ahead.
Right. That's absolutely true. And I don't think Aaron Jones was completely healthy in that game, and the Packers were undefeated with Aaron Jones completely healthy until that 49ers game in the divisional round. So you're right. So like every team they played, and like they played closely, like those teams weren't that good. Like, the Raiders are, I could say, mediocre team, right? The Bengals, they're okay. Like, but none of these teams are even close to Baltimore. So like this is a big step up in competition. I know they just beat the Bills, but the Bills are missing half their defense. I know they beat the Dolphins, but again, the Dolphins are missing half their defense. So like this is like their first real test. Like I'm looking back at their schedule. You could say since the Eagles in week 11, but like, first of all, they lost to the Eagles. And second, we saw what the Eagles were late in the year. So even if you like ignore that Eagles game, I like they've had such an easy schedule. Like I'm looking at all these results. Like none of these teams that they played are very impressive. Like I went back all the way to week 1 against the Lions with the team they lost to, but Chris Jones and Kelsey didn't play. So like they've had an easy schedule. They've struggled to beat these teams. Now they get Baltimore, which is the best team they've played by far. I think the Ravens really take it to them. I'd be shocked if this is close, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, we got some.
Yeah,
Bagley here saying he doesn't buy the Taylor Swift angle. I think that's even though I mentioned it, it's funny because I've been thinking about this the last 2 days. Like, obviously, like the books know that there's probably a lot of people that think that. So you know what I mean. So I could see it not happening too. I'm actually in the last day or so, I've been more inclined to think kind of fade that angle because they definitely know. I'm sure there's a lot, especially thinking about the public. I think, and this is just my guess. I think the public thinks that too. Maybe to a large extent. So I'm inclined to side with you there, Bagley.
Yeah, Bagley also saying Allegretti is actually one of the better backup guards and could start for many teams, although not the all-pro that Tooney is. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like Allegretti's a fine backup, but like Tooney is the best offensive lineman on that team. Like you could even argue he was the best player, like period, on that team this year. Offensively, at least Chris Jones is amazing, but like not having Tooney is just, I think, is a big deal. But our CS fans say I don't see why the refs wouldn't want Lamar in the Super Bowl. I feel like they wouldn't mind him winning one. Yeah, I mean, like people are gonna watch the Super Bowl, like just because Taylor Swift's not there, like doesn't mean that like people are like, I'm not watching the Super Bowl now. Taylor Swift's not here, like people are still gonna watch the game. Lamar Jackson is star power for sure. So I think I don't really like buy that angle either. The student Red says with the Chiefs guard out, pocket breakdowns should make Mahomes scramble run more. Certainly Mahomes could clear 26.5 rushing yards. Yes, that's going to be one of my props. So I'll get that in a second. Oh, we got a super chat here.
Hey, thanks so much, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, thank you so much for the $19.99 super chat. Really appreciate it. He says, been watching since 2018. You and Charlie have won me way more money than $20. So here you go. Thank you so much. And congrats on that, on those wins. It's all Charlie, by the way, with the draft props. I may have had like one call or something like that, but like Charlie gets, he has like 99% of the sources. I don't know how he does it. He talks to like half the league. Like I said this before, so forgive me if like you've heard it before, but like, he'll like forward me like an email chain he's had with like an NFL GM, and like the NFL GM reached out to him first. He's like, hey, who do you like here out of these tackles? I'm like, wow. Like I know it's like, like this guy who's getting paid millions of dollars is asking Charlie who likes like which tackles he likes. It's pretty incredible that like, I mean, Charlie talks to everyone. It's crazy. Like I don't know how he does it. I wish I had like 10% of the networking skills that he does. Like it's insane.
Yeah, you and Charlie have won me a lot of money too, and my repayment to you is being on the show. So yeah, no, the draft for those of you that may not know, if you're newer to the show, the draft content on Walter Football is phenomenal. So
yeah, it's all Charlie. Like that's all Charlie. Like for the props this year, like Charlie was like, "Hey, don't post these two until draft day." I like specifically. Our sources specifically asked us not to post until Thursday morning. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. Well, I'll bet them, but yeah, I will wait until Thursday. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the draft once again to bet those drafts. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Let's see here. Okay. Northwest Seahawks fan saying, not that I'm a conspiracy theorist when it comes to the refs. Yeah, it's well, I mean, we'll see if I think it's like if you see some bad calls tomorrow, like people are like, oh man, like they want Taylor Swift there,
yeah.
But like when you think about it, like the officiating has been terrible for years now. So
yeah, well, and I mean, how many? Do you think it'll be similar to last year's AFC Championship game? I mean, I know a lot of people felt. Seahawks fan felt last year that the refs really helped them out, myself included. There's varying degrees to the magnitude at which they helped. I just remember that third down play where the Bengals stopped them, and they said that they gave him like a mulligan.
Yeah,
and then the missed holding on was it the punt return that set up the game-winning field goal?
Yeah, and then the late hit, out of bounds. Yeah.
I was disappointed in that game.
It was bad. but that game was close. Like those teams were evenly matched. Like these teams are not evenly matched, and like that's what I want to bring in this comment from 1777. He says Saints Rams NFC Championship game should tell you the refs favor one team in these type of games. Again, like that was a close game. Like those teams, Saints Rams, were evenly matched. Like I really don't think the Chiefs and Ravens are evenly matched. I think the Ravens are much better. So like I think it's going to take a ton of calls, like lots of holding, like penalties, and maybe we see that, but I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, 1777. I definitely think there's merit to what you're saying, no doubt. I just don't know if I'd hang my hat on it, sort of thing. Like if that's the only you know what I mean? If that's the only reason you like the Chiefs, then that's just me. I would be a little more cautious, but I definitely think there's merit to what you're saying there. 1777.
Yeah. So Andrew's saying the Bengals with Jake Browning were decent. You can maybe say that, like they got blown out by the Steelers, but still, like they were okay. But I'm not saying that they weren't okay. I'm saying like they weren't a great team like the Ravens. Like the Chiefs just haven't played tough competition. Like they played like mediocre competition. You know what I mean? But not anything like the Ravens. Northwest CS fans saying, I know this sounds stupid, but if the Chiefs didn't have the Chiefs' reputation, the public would be on Baltimore. I don't think that's stupid at all. I think that's definitely it's like price memory and stuff like that.
Name brand recognition.
Right, exactly. That's a better way to put it. And name brand recognition. It's you get the same thing with like Notre Dame football. You get the same thing with the Yankees. You have that a lot. And the Patriots used to have that when they had Brady and Belichick. But yeah, it's definitely a factor, and I think that's why this line is so low. Like if you just look at how these teams have played, I think you'd have to make the Ravens a 7-point favorite. Or even higher. I made them 7.5. My personal line, EPA says they should be -8. Like and that has no biases. It just looks at how these teams have played all year, and Baltimore is just a much better team than Kansas City.
Slew. There should be a prop on whether the.
Okay, he says there should be a prop on whether the Chiefs have an offensive offsides. That'd be funny. I'd love to see that. Mahomes is 199 and one is an underdog.
Wow.
I don't know. I think it's a lot of cases he's played there. Baggett says the mulligan was due to the Bengals snapping the ball when the refs didn't have the ready signal. Not sure exactly what you're referring to with the holding penalty. There was a holding that they missed on the punt return. It was like 2 plays before that Mahomes that roughing penalty that was called. But like there was like an obvious hold on the punt return that they missed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can argue too, like with like there's probably a whole like what's technically holding on a lot of plays that is not seen or that teams get away with. So I don't know, but to me that play to set up the game-winning field goal was holding. But I mean, what can you do? So
yeah, the books know that people are stupid. Yeah, that's what's that quote? I think it's George Carlin said. He's like, he said, think about how stupid the average person is, and then realize half the people are dumber than that.
Yeah, John Sanders. Ne'er have truer words been spoken. The books know that people are stupid.
Yes,
present company included right here.
CX fans saying the Bengals really helped the Chiefs out last year, if I remember, with some of the play calling late in the game. Yeah, it wasn't ideal for sure. And now
that too.
Yeah. I'd say the Ravens at 93 and 100, and the Chiefs are at 88 and 100. Both are good teams. I think there's a much bigger gap between them. I could maybe see Ravens at 93. I think the Chiefs are closer to the high 70s, to be honest. Like EPA has them in the 20s. I think they're the 20th ranked team according to EPA, if I remember correctly. Let me see. Yeah, they're ranked number 20 in the NFL. Just their offense has been so mediocre this year. Their defense hasn't been all that great since they've had some injuries. Yeah, this is just like an average team that's beaten average opponents and not convincingly. Yeah, they had a great win against the Dolphins in the first round, but again, like Miami, first of all, Miami was playing freezing cold, and second, Miami had so many injuries. Like I just wouldn't really put much into that.
And the Bills shot themselves in the foot time after time, and they had so many chances to win that game. So I don't think that win against the Bills was as impressive as it might seem on paper, but just one idiot's opinion. What do I know?
Any DK plays you're hammering, not props? What do you mean by that?
Like DFS or
yeah, please explain that. 1777. Yes, that's an interesting point you make. Haven't thought about that. Ravens should be same line as 49ers Lions, both 1-3, but Vegas knows something ain't right. I mean, Vegas is just catering to the public, really. I mean, like they know that the public wants to bet the Chiefs, and they know the public wants to bet the Niners, and that's kind of oh yes, DFS. Okay, yeah, we're gonna get to that toward the end. Once we get through these picks, let me get to the props now. So I have 4 of these. 2 are similar, and you guys probably know where I'm going to go with these. Mobile quarterbacks are 4-2 on overs in the playoffs. The 2 that didn't hit were Jalen Hurts in the first round, and that's probably because he was dealing with a knee injury, he couldn't run. And then last week when Mahomes didn't get there, but Mahomes did get there in the first round. So I like the over for Lamar Jackson, the 65.5 rushing yards, and then over on Patrick Mahomes, that's 26.5 rushing yards. I like the under on Mecole Hardman receiving yards. It's 13.5 on DraftKings. Now listen to how bizarre this number is. So the over under for receiving yards is 13.5. Excluding the final week of the year when all the backups played, like he played a lot in that game. So just take that game out. He has not cleared 13 receiving yards all year in a single game, and yet the line's 13.5. Like, why is that? Like, I don't think people understand how bad Mecole Hardman is. Like, he's a garbage player. Yeah, I think he'll catch like 1 pass for 5 yards, and then he'll get an end around for like 8 yards, and like that's it. But this is just receiving yards. So I'm going under on Mecole Hardman on 13.5 receiving yards. That's on DraftKings. And then the last one is under on Zay Flowers receiving yards, 44.5. The Chiefs are great against number 1 receivers. Like they just shut everyone down. Look at last week's Stephon Diggs. Didn't do anything. Tyreek Hill in 2 matchups, not great. Like Zay Flowers is not like a premier receiver yet anyway. He's not like a Stephon Diggs level. Like maybe one day he will be, who knows, but right now he's not. And I think that L'Jarius Sneed should have an easy time covering him. And plus, like the Ravens might be up big, and so they may not have to throw in the second half at all. So I think that Flowers under 44.5. It's a low number compared to a season average, so 52.5. But still, I think he's going to have trouble getting there. So those are the 4 I like. Any thoughts on those, or Tom, or anything on your end?
Yeah, I especially like the Hardman prop. A lot of times when you see that like that low for receivers, you see like a low over under total receiving yards. You think, oh, all they got to do is catch 1 pass, which is true, but usually it's that low for a reason. So I like that play as well. Zay Flowers, that one, I like that one a little bit. Thing about Diggs, I feel, and I'm pulling this out of thin air from the eye test. I feel like Diggs hasn't been as like they hadn't been going to him, or he hasn't been as productive near the end of the season. I might just be, again, I'm just pulling that out of thin air. I don't have the stats in front of me, so I probably won't take that one personally, but I definitely think there's merit to what you're saying, of course. So, but I like the Hardman one for sure. Like I said, those numbers are usually low for a reason, though it might be tempting. Like, oh, just 1 pass could be 15 yards and it hits. So, which but I like the under.
Yeah, of course, Hardman could drop that pass. It's like which he has done, and all Chiefs have done this year.
John Sanders, they promoted Tim Dunn. Yeah, I'll tell you what. If you've seen that that series Untold on Netflix, it's called Operation Flagrant Foul, about the Tim Donaghy story. It's really, really good. I've watched it many times. If you haven't seen it, really interesting story. And he's from Havertown, not too far from us, Walt. So it was a really good story. I thought I knew a lot about the Tim Donaghy situation already, and the documentary was really good. So highly recommend.
Representing this area well.
Another Delaware County success story. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Bill Cosby went to my high school, so we've got everything covered.
Did he really?
Yeah. Bill Cosby.
I knew that he was from the Philadelphia area. I didn't know that he went to the same high school as you, though.
Yeah. Went to Central High School, second oldest public school in the U.S. Bill Cosby, it's funny. It's like Bill Cosby used to come in all the time. Everyone loved him, and he went in like the one time he came in when I was there. I was a freshman, and he had like he had an assembly, like he came in and like people wanted to hear him, so the seniors got to listen to him at the assembly, and I was so jealous. I was like, man, this sucks, because I used to watch the Cosby Show. Like he's great, he's a funny guy. And then and like now they kind of like disavow him. He's like, no, Cosby did poorly here. Like he almost dropped out. Like he's not associated with the school. Like it's funny how things have changed. But yeah, no, he went to my alma mater.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, I did not know that. Hey, Seahawks fan, that's a good question. That was actually my Quacky's Corner on Thursday night. I like Ravens defense, special teams, anytime touchdown, just on account. I mean, I took Bills defense and special teams last week for the same reasoning. Just so many drop passes by the Chiefs. They led the league. Could be a tipped, drop ball for, intercepted and taken the other way. I see it on the Hard Rock app at 5-1. So, and I think it was plus 550 on DraftKings, Walt, when we were looking at it Thursday night. But that was my Quacky's Corner on Thursday night. So I like that too, Seahawks fan.
Yeah, I like that too. I think it's a good call on your part. Super Red Eye asking, best two options are Hardman under 13.5 minus 135 and under 12.5 minus 115. I think I'd play the minus 115 one, 12.5. Like 12, I mean, you're going to feel bad if he gets 13 yards, but it just doesn't seem likely that he's going to land on exactly that number, So I think I'd rather take the minus 115, but it's kind of close.
I would too. I mean, for that to be exactly 13, that would be a heartbreaker.
Yeah. I mean, now that I've spoken to existence, I think it's gonna be right.
Go ahead.
Goff under 1.5 rushing yards. I assume this is he hasn't scrambled until last week. I think I was looking at his stats and I'm like, that kind of makes sense. If you're getting like minus 110, minus 115, I haven't looked. I think it makes sense to do that. I kind of like that, but he did rush. And again, like quarterbacks will run more in the playoffs. Not that Goff's a mobile quarterback by any means, but if it's there, he's going to go for it, So it's like I would rather bet this in the regular season, but you'll probably win this. Sure. Mike asking what other famous criminals went to Walt High School. We also had like a famous rapper or something who went to my school. I don't know what his name is, but as far as I know, I don't think he was a criminal. But I'm sure we've definitely had some criminals. This is inner city Philadelphia we're talking about here. So it's right next to LaSalle University. It's pretty bad. Like we actually had warnings. Like they actually had announced on the PA system in the school. They're like, please do not cross the street to go get Chinese food. Do not cross the street. You will be mugged. Like that, they made that announcement, and people would still cross the street to get. Like they had good food across the street. They had a pizzeria and a Chinese place, and like people would lose their shoes all the time because they would cross the street to get food. And like, you idiots, like why are you doing this? Like we have a cafeteria here, just eat here.
People just want to skip, I guess.
You don't have to skip to go across. Like we had
I guess that's true.
We had a back lawn area where people would smoke all the time, like just go there. You don't have, or like you could just stay in the lunchroom. Like when I cut class, I would be in the lunchroom hanging out with friends. Like you don't have to go get mugged across the street in Northwest Philly. Like it's just horrible.
The Chinese food must have been really good if it was worth that.
Apparently. Yeah, I don't know. Al says thought is San Francisco rarely blitzes, and he only ran last week versus Blitz. Oh, that's a good thought, actually. That's interesting. Like I said, you're probably going to win this. And then that wasn't on my radar, but I kind of like that now. John saying Diggs was hiding an injury all year, got hurt in London. Okay. Feels like every Bill player got hurt in London. That was just a devastating game for them. Oh man, they lost Matt Milano there. It was awful.
John, your other comment there, I don't know if you want to talk DFS now or till the end, but I actually have a point to make on MVS specifically, John. I don't know if you're trying to talk DFS later.
Is this only DFS related, or can it be related to the prop? Because if so,
I like the over here. Over here.
Why is that?
And I am by, so MVS used to be on the Packers, and I was he's not known by the public to be a great receiver by any means. But I remember when he was in Green Bay, I was actually kind of bummed when they traded him away. The reason being, I felt that he kept improving. He wasn't ever going to be the number one guy there in Green Bay. I mean, or probably anywhere, But he was always a strong deep threat, and he made a lot of mistakes early, like drop passes, fumbles, sort of thing with Green Bay. But I just remember thinking, like, he's always seems to be improving. And I remember the 2020 NFC Championship game. The Packers played the Bucs, and I remember telling my buddy Ron, I was like, MVS is maybe an X factor. He's a deep threat. Well, let's look at. So that carries me to my next point. Let's look at. I'm saying he's a conference championship game legend in 2 conference championship games. One with the Packers. MVS 4 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Last year with the Chiefs against the Bengals, 6 catches, 116 yards, and a touchdown. So I'm wondering, and we'll get into this later. I don't think, I know that's not much to hang your hat on, and it's just the kind of a little bit biased here. But I don't think necessarily I could make the argument. I think I can make the argument that MVS might not be a bad DFS play. He could. He is a deep threat. He could catch one ball and like a 50, 60-yard touchdown sort of thing. So. I like him a little bit more than the public, though. So I would go over personally, but that's just me.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I remember you bringing up his history in the championship games. So there might be something to that. I just worry about is that Mahomes is just not going to have the blocking to get the ball to him. So I'm pretty bearish on like pretty much everything with the Chiefs outside of Mahomes rushing yards. But you do make a good point though. I wanted to bring this up. Central High School alumni page. The rapper is Cassidy, who was he did not graduate, but he was actually in my class since 259. Since we're so old, we don't go like class of 2000. We would go like 259, as in the 259th graduating class at Central. Right, Noam Chomsky actually went to the school. I didn't know that. But I was curious that they had Bill Cosby there, and they do. They still. I thought they'd delete him from the page, but he's still there. So that was
comedian and entertainer, among other things.
Right. So anyway, let's see if we have any comments before we go to the next pick. Let's see.
Oh, Seahawks fan, you said didn't. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, what were you saying? Okay, yeah. You say didn't the Packers try to re-sign MVS and got a bid if memory serves it correctly?
That might have been. Did I say traded him? What I should have said was retain him, but that might have been the case. Yeah, I was just kind of bummed that they didn't retain him. I thought he was a decent like third or even fourth option for them and was a good deep ball threat. So that's all I meant. I say like 10 million words a day. Some of them are bound to be wrong. Most of them.
Says he 77 says Holmes Reed have done a good job distributing that pigskin last 2 weeks. I'd go over as well. Just if you're going to look at the stats from the past 2 weeks, just be careful because they played 2 teams that were just really ravaged by injuries. Like this is a different matchup. So I think it's going to be different. So
I think so too. See, I don't think this counts as the MVS thing is not, since he's not on the Packers anymore. That doesn't. I don't think this counts as much if that's what you're referring to, Alan. But typically that's good. It worked well for us for a while there, the last few weeks of the season. Even though I was winking at the camera when I said I like the 49ers, but it paid off. So.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. I don't think this counts as a Packer bet. John saying my wife tried reading Cosby's biography, but it put her to sleep. Nice. Very nice. Oh man. 1777 says Ravens will pass rush Mahomes like no other team has this year. It's true. But trust in Andy Reid to adjust and give the ball to their skill players in open space. Like what skill players though? Like they just drop passes like crazy. They've not done well at all this year, even against like mediocre competition. I just don't see it with this team. I think they're gonna get crushed. Or the Seahawks fans saying I don't get why the Packers kept A-Rod and trade away their best patch catcher. Should have traded Rodgers a year earlier.
Agreed.
And hindsight, I guess so. It's at the time they'd be heavily criticized, but I think the right move now that we've seen no Cookie Jordan Love. All right, let's get to the second game. Lions Niners. The spread is 7.5 in most sports books. So I thought we are getting a great number at 7 a week ago. Like it was a week ago exactly when I bet this game, despite the Lions not having played yet against the Buccaneers. I thought we were going to see 6 or something like that eventually, but we did not. And I think this is optimism on Deebo Samuel playing. So this line has gone to 7.5, which I'm more than happy to get another half point here because I bet 5 units on the Lions. I still need 2 more for the pick of the month, the dual pick of the month there. So yeah, I mean, nothing's changed for me. I still love the Lions. I think the Niners are very overrated. I talked about how like their marquee wins this year have been against the NFC East teams that prove that like we saw how bad they were to close out the year, and like their other two marquee wins were against like first was against the Steelers, which like whoop-de-doo, and then second was against the Jaguars, who after that game, I don't think they won twice. They beat the Texans, and then after that, they were I think they're 1-6 to close out the year, and their one win was against Carolina. So like I don't know. When the Niners was tested against the Ravens, they got crushed. And I think that Brock Purdy could have issues with the pass rush. Like everyone's looking at this matchup, especially in DFS, whereas like oh, Purdy against Detroit's pass defense, he's going to do great. And like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but I worry about the pass rush because the Niners don't protect Purdy all that well. And when they went up against Baltimore, and Baltimore's great pass rush, like the Ravens just killed them in the trenches, and Purdy made a lot of mistakes. Purdy made a lot of mistakes last week as well. And I think that like he was so lucky that the Packers dropped multiple interceptions. I think that the Lions are going to have chances to get turnovers as well. And I think there's a good chance the Lions win this game. So yeah, I love the Lions. And I know you did on Thursday. Has anything changed for you?
Nothing's changed at all for me. I might be slightly biased. I mean, I'm sure I am to some extent because I bet the Lions to win the Super Bowl before the season started. But I really love them at +7 here. Nothing's changed. I think this is going to be a close game. I really think the Lions have a chance to win outright, and I certainly hope they do. Mike Hartle here, you said, didn't San Francisco announce that Debo is a full go? Mm-hmm. I have a buddy of mine who is usually pretty good with props, and he has been adamant today and yesterday saying take Debo anytime touchdown. He said it like many times. So take that for what it's worth. Usually his prop picks are pretty good. So I'll throw that out there for whatever it's worth. I'll definitely consider taking it too. But yeah, it sounds like he's going to play. So
yeah, from what I hear, it's the pain tolerance thing, which like it could resurface. Like he could aggravate. What if he lands hard on the shoulder and he has to leave the game again? Like I think that's definitely a possibility. Now, like he was running at full speed. I thought it's funny that like we saw a report on Wednesday. He's like, oh, he didn't practice, but he's running on full speed on the sideline. I'm like, well, of course he was. Like it's not an injury to his legs; it's his injury to his shoulder. Of course he's running full speed, you know. But like, yeah, he could just land on his shoulder and just leave the game. So like that has to be a worry. So
right.
So Bagley says Lions game with cheat fakeman as ref. I think I'll pass. I don't blame you. I don't know why he's still an official at this point. But I don't know. I think I don't know. I don't know. I mean, what if he rigs the game for the Lions? Like that's definitely a possibility. I think there might be a concern with Goff against a good defense. So here's the thing about the Niners. Like they are so relying on the pass rush. If they can get to the quarterback, their defense looks great because they can just tee off on the quarterback. But if their pass rush can't get to the quarterback, we saw this against the Packers in the second round. Their defense is pretty mediocre because their secondary is not good. They lost their top safety for the year, and their cornerbacks have struggled for the most part. So yeah, if they can't get to the quarterback, like that puts a lot of pressure on a bad secondary, and the Lions have an elite offensive line. So I think that it's like one of the reasons why I think Detroit matches up really well against the Niners. So yeah, the Lions and Ravens aren't the same level at all. But I think that the Lions have a great matchup here, like for multiple reasons. And like the Lions having an elite offensive line is just going to give them a good chance to win this game. And like 1777 says Lions is going to get cooked. Stafford and Baker bake them. But yeah, so those quarterbacks are protected well. Brock Purdy's not, except for Trent Williams, who's amazing. Like the rest of their offensive line is pretty bad. So I think Detroit's pass rush could get a lot of pressure on him on Purdy. So again, like I don't think Purdy's gonna have a great game. Like he could have great stats if he's throwing a lot in the second half, like in comeback mode. But I think that overall, like if you were greatest performance, I don't think it's gonna be very good. Let's see. John says never seen a quarterback struggle because of a drizzle of rain like Purdy. He's soft as hell. Yeah, that was pretty bad. It's not like he was from like a desert region. He played in college. Like if he played in like Arizona State and like never saw rain in his life, I could be like, okay, yeah, I got it. But like I don't know, he played at Iowa State. Like they get moisture up there, right?
What's interesting? I remember, like, I think maybe in the first drive, like I saw Purdy's in the first drive against that Packers. I saw Purdy's eyes, like they zoomed in and like he looked a little shaken. I remember. Reminded me of that time I could see Tony Romo's eyes before that the 07-08 divisional game against the Giants. Remember he went on vacation with Jessica Simpson. Everyone was talking about it, and I saw him in the pregame. I remember thinking if I had $1 million, I think I talked about this just this week or this past week or the week before. I would have bet it all on the Giants. He looked so scared, and obviously the 49ers ended up winning the game. But not because Purdy was lighting it up necessarily. So I just remember seeing he did look a little shaken, and I don't know. I think I don't know. I'm anxious to see what Purdy's going to do. I really like the Lions here. I don't disagree. I think he's a little soft too.
Yeah, Alan saying one Anzalone hit to Debo, and he's back to the sidelines. Definitely not running jet sweeps. Yeah, under rushing total makes sense. You're right. Northwest Series fan asking Quacky, who do you dislike more, the Niners for owning the Packers in the playoffs, or the Lions for being a divisional rival?
The Niners, 100%. I don't really have anything against. Well, in fact, I love the Lions now since I have a bet on them. I've never. In my lifetime, for the most part. The vast majority of my lifetime as a Packers fan, the Lions have been absolutely terrible. Yeah. So I don't have anything against them. I can't stand the Niners. I don't know. I just hate their stupid logo and stuff, and their colors. But yeah. They also have owned Green Bay, and especially in the Rodgers era. And so definitely the Niners by a landslide there, Seahawks fan.
Yeah, I think if the Lions win the Super Bowl this year and then next year they're in contention and then the year after they win another Super Bowl, I think your tune will change on them as a Packer fan. But like right now, you're like, oh, who is this team? Like it's like it's like a stupid kid brother who sucks. Like, and you're like 10 years older than him. Like you're beating him up and in basketball, and you're like. And like he scores a bucket and he's so proud of himself. Like this is like the Lions this year. You're like, that's funny. You're so cute. Like, it's like, it's but if they have a lot of sustained success, then like I said, you're gonna have different feelings about them.
Agreed.
So Rada says I have the Lions at 25-1, but the Debo factor scares me. He opens up the offense for others, even if he's not 100%. Yeah, that's true. And now we're getting an extra point, but. We're talking about the Lions winning the Super Bowl, and I still like to know, like he could leave early with an injury. I think that I think it's definitely possible. Great matchup. So I was asking about the great matchup. So like Detroit's offensive line is going to neutralize the best thing the Niners have on defense, which is their pass rush. The Lions pass rush is going to get to Brock Purdy. And also the Lions are great against the run. The Niners have to establish the run. That's like it runs through everything runs through McCaffrey. And the Lions can stop that because they're great against the run. So like these things, like except for the line secondary, like that's the one edge the Niners have in this game. Everything else leans toward Detroit, matchup wise. Let's see here. Okay. Not Rusty like last. Okay, wait, hold on. We shall see, man. So you're going Ravens Lions Super Bowl. Yeah. I bet the Lions to win the Super Bowl. I'm going to hedge with the Ravens as well. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up. My hedge is going to be with the Ravens because I don't see the Chiefs beating the Ravens. I think the Ravens are just going to get there. And like if the Ravens get there, I want to have a good number on them because I think I really favor them against the Niners. Let's see. Best uniforms in the league besides the Raiders. I'm not like I guess you gotta love the powder blue Charger jerseys, right? Like those are awesome.
I like those too.
Yeah, those are great. They should wear them all the time. I don't know why they don't. Lamar Jackson versus Jared Goff. Lamar Jackson versus Lions gonna stop CMC. It's possible, man. They had the number one run defense in the NFL. Like, I think they can, at least running wise. Like, maybe McCaffrey has a good receiving game, but running wise, they're going to stop him. All right, so let's get to props here. I have 4, I believe. The first one is okay. We won with this last week. Christian McCaffrey, under 18.5 rushing attempts. He barely gets over 18. I don't know why it's so high. I guess like people see that they're like, oh, of course McCaffrey's going to run a lot, but like that doesn't happen that often. Like like I said, he barely gets over 18.5 to begin with. So under 18.5 plus 100 on DraftKings. I like that. I like the Brandon Ayuk over 75.5 receiving yards. I do think Brock Purdy's going to struggle like as a whole. But like I think there's a chance that he's behind in the second half and he has to throw a lot. And plus, like the Lions allow a big plays to receivers. We saw that last week with Mike Evans. I think Ayuk could get there in the second half. His seasonal average for receiving yards is 80.8. So this is under. This is a weird because it's a great matchup. I thought it'd be over. I thought it'd be to like 83, 84. We're getting 75.5, which seems like a bargain. Also in the same vein, I like Brock Purdy over 275.5 passing yards. Like again, I think he can get there in the second half with throwing from behind, kind of like Baker Mayfield did. The last quarterback to not throw for 300 yards against the Lions was Russell Wilson in that Saturday night game that we had. It was like week 15 or weeks? I think it was week 15, right? It was like the middle of December. That's the last quarterback who didn't do that, and we've seen how bad Russell Wilson was. I mean, he got benched for a reason. And also, I'm going with the alt line. Lions minus 2.5 plus 340, which is on FanDuel. I think, like I said, I think the Lions win this game. So might as well. I like the minus 2.5 alt lines better than the money line. I think you get better value that way. So it's plus 340 on FanDuel. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Seahawks fan, let me read. I'll give you a little elevator pitch as a kind of final thought for my Lions pick here. This is a text I sent to a group chat I have of sports betting buddies. If you're a 49ers fan, how can you feel confident right now after the way they've been playing? Debo he's going, but he's not going to be 100%. Aaron Jones ran all over them last week. What will Gibbs and Montgomery do? Last season, Purdy played against the worst playoff team in Seattle and then beat the perennial choking Cowboys. He looked pretty shaky to me versus Green Bay last week. He looked scared. When have the 49ers bounced back this year? They lost 3 straight games, and then after losing to Baltimore on Christmas, they couldn't cover versus the damn Commandos until the fourth quarter. They only led 13-10 at halftime against that team, who the Commandos were really bad. So I really love the Lions plus 7. I think they have a chance to win outright. Just one idiot's opinion. So that's my closing elevator pitch for the Lions, and I hope they win too, of course. But of course, anything can happen. But I'll be pulling for Detroit.
Yeah, I like it. It's a great point. I think that the Niners really not tested in the playoffs under this regime. And not
Alan, real quick, I'm sorry, Alan, that last comment. Have you heard the Superchargers fight song? Just the San Diego Chargers fights. It's a bop, man. You got to check it out if you don't know. It's on YouTube.
Yeah. 77 says, remember this game is San Francisco. It's a different venue for the Lions. Sort of, though. Like if you look at the weather, it says 70 degrees, clear, and no wind. Like that is basically a dome game. And remember, Jared Goff played at Cal. Like this is the same area in which he played college football. So I think he's gonna be pretty comfortable in these conditions. Let's see here. Who's the better play caller, Ben Johnson or Kyle Shanahan? They're both great play callers. I think Shanahan is the longer track record, although not in the playoffs, right? Like you can say maybe he chokes on the pressure. And like, you know what? He was really conservative against the Packers before halftime. Like I remember he was like he looked like he was playing not to lose rather than the win. I thought that was a really bad look here. And so like that's another strike against the Niners. Like I think Shanahan might choke in this game. But if you're talking about like week 8 of the regular season, I'll take Shanahan. Gibbs is on fire last week. Campbell didn't want to run the ball with him. Well, it was a matchup based. Like the Buccaneers are great against the run and bad against the pass, so I don't blame him for passing a lot. Seahawks fan also Quacky, which hurts more, the last 5 losses to the Niners or the last 4 minutes of the 2015 NFC Championship game?
Without a doubt, that NFC Championship game. In fact, that was the last time for those of us true sports fans, which is probably most of us here. When you get that sports depression, that 300-pound weight feeling on your chest after your team loses, it's like your girlfriend just dumped you. Sometimes it feels like it's that sort of pain. That was the last time I felt sports depression from one of my teams losing. I remember I just told myself, I was like, I'm not going to get that emotionally invested. That was out of all my teams, and I've had some, across all sports, that was probably the most heartbreaking loss that I ever had. And after that, I was like, I'm done getting that emotionally invested. That game still haunts me. So for sure, but you know what? not to troll you back a little bit. I know you're goofing, but I remember thinking, as much as that one hurt, imagine being a Seahawks fan after they didn't run it on the following game, which probably hurt even worse. So not trying to troll you back, but it made me feel better at the time. So.
So with the fight song, Alan says, I choose to never hear it. And he says, Superchargers is my fantasy team name. My fantasy team name is always walterfootball.com. And it's like one girl that we had in a league a long time ago. She's like, why don't you? She's I don't know, maybe she was angry at me at the time. She's like, why don't you just call your team shameless self promotion? I'm like, okay, sure.
Nothing wrong with a shameless self promotion.
No, of course not. John saying 13 seconds broke me as a Bills fan.
Yeah.
That was brutal, man. I had the Bills in that game. I was hoping for them to win. That NFC Championship game was my favorite Seahawks game of all time. Don't worry, what came after haunts me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yep. All right, I think that it's time to get into DFS. So let's do it, right? So we're not going to do like a full breakdown of the slate or anything. We're not going to analyze all the quarterbacks and everything. It's like we did that on Wednesday show with Kenny. But let me I don't know if you I don't know what like how you wanted to start this, Tom. Like what are you thinking? Like what plays are you making? What make some lineups too as we do this?
Yeah. I have one lineup already. However you want to do. Again, for those that are watching, I am no NFL DFS expert for anything. If anything, this will be a tutorial and maybe what not to do, and Walt can correct my, maybe misled thoughts. But I have a lineup here already. So I don't know. Do you want to go like position by position and talk about what we like or don't like, or I'll follow your lead, whatever you like.
Sure. Yeah. A couple comments first. G Chuck saying Shanahan should have coached not to lose versus the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Yeah. That's true. Maybe you overcompensated. Johnny asking thoughts on McCaffrey receptions 4.5, receiving yards 36.5. Yeah, I like the over on those because
me too.
Our theory is that the Niners are going to be playing from behind. So if you agree, then they're going to throw the ball lots to McCaffrey, kind of like they did against the Packers last week. So I definitely like that too. All right, well, quarterbacks for me, I obviously only have 4 options. I would rank them. I would love to have Jackson in my lineup. I don't know if it's possible because this is a really tough build because there's no value. So I'm leaning toward getting to Jared Goff a lot. Jared Goff is, I think he's like the best leverage play because a lot of people are going to be playing Purdy. I guarantee that like 50% of lineups are going to have Purdy or something like that, something crazy like that. Just because he and Goff are the cheapest quarterbacks, and like people see that matchup against Detroit's secondary, and they're like, oh, let me play Purdy. And I was looking at the NFL Sims from Stochastic, and we're affiliates from them, and you can get the link in the description. But like the Sims say that you should play Goff. So like that's like the best leverage play you get. So I think in my one lineup in the SPY, I'm going to be playing Goff. But I was having second thoughts tonight about Purdy. Like in the SPY, like in the Millie contest, I would definitely play Goff, like no questions. Like in the single entry, I was thinking about like Purdy, and I was thinking about like how we think he's going to be playing from behind. He might throw like at halftime, like Goff, I think will have better stats than Purdy. But like by the end of the game, Purdy could have better stats than Goff because of comeback mode. Like that's my one concern here with playing Goff over Purdy. So I'm at least considering changing that for my single entry lineup and in the Millie contest, swapping to Goff. But I don't know what you're thinking, quarterback.
In the one lineup that I've made here so far, I have Lamar Jackson. I like both Jackson and Goff. And I was actually going to bring, but you kind of answered my question there. Because we were talking, we think if we think the game's going to be close and Purdy's going to be throwing a lot, especially if they can't establish the run, that might be a good play too. But if it's going to be highly owned, I like what you said there about having him in the single entry. But I think it's got to be Jackson or Goff for me. But again, this is coming from me who knows very little here.
Yeah. Or quick here, Alan saying a bit of chatter about places having pre-made San Francisco, Baltimore Super Bowl cakes, cookies, nonsense, conspiracy is afoot. Well, it's like those they make those T-shirts like for both teams to win the Super Bowl. So I think they're just doing that to get ahead of themselves. Like it's the easiest way to do that. Like they're like, oh, like, both teams are going to win, right? So we'll just do it. So and they're like, oh, if one of these teams doesn't win, we'll redo it and just give it to like charity or something, you know. So I think that's what they do.
Yeah, and sorry, my light just went off here. And Alan, I don't know if you follow me on Twitter. But if you do, I just posted like a little conspiracy response video about that, because if you saw that news report, that it looks like it was created by like AI or something that says, oh, Usher and Post Malone to perform at the 49ers Ravens Super Bowl matchup sort of thing. But if you follow me on Twitter, check that video out, because I'm not buying into that too much. Yeah. Also, because it's not that bold of a prediction. They've been the two best teams, arguably all season long. They're both the 1 seeds. Like, yeah, like okay, like they're the favorites. So I'm not going to put too much stock into it. But if you follow me on Twitter, check out the video if you're so inclined. So
Alan's saying I'll still eat the cake. I will too.
Same.
Is Seahawks fan asking, are you concerned that the Lions might try and take the ball out of Goff's hands if they have a lead? Unless the Niners jump out to a big lead. Yeah, that is exactly my concern. Like, if DFS was only a half, if like all the stats froze at halftime, like I would 100% play Goff. That's my worry, is that like Goff will be outperforming Purdy at halftime, and I'll be feeling great. I'm like, yeah, I made the right call, and then Purdy throws for a bunch of yards in the second half to catch up. Like that's my concern. So yeah, like I said, I might do Purdy in the single entry and Goff in the millie. Let's see here. Yeah, he likes Jackson because of scramble. Yeah, for sure. He's just more expensive and it's harder to get to him. So kind of curious about what the rest of your lineup looks like, Tom. But yeah, John says kids in Africa think the 90s Bills are the greatest team of all time. Yeah. They also think the Patriots won 19-0. So
I think the 90s Bills are the greatest team.
It's true. They have all these like, wow, this team won so many Super Bowls. They must be awesome. It'd be funny if like they ever the NFL has a game in Africa. And then like everyone's a Bills fan because of those 90s teams.
Yeah.
Charles saying, I heard Debo is definitely playing. That scares me. I have so many weapons. No rain. Purdy should play better. Defense should play BTT. I don't know what BTT is, but yeah, but like Debo and like Debo might be banged up. Like if he lands hard on his shoulder, might leave the game. This is all stuff I said before. And I don't know. I think Purdy's got trouble with the pass rush more than anything. Bagley saying, go ahead.
This is a good point, Bagley. It makes me think of a funny story. I used to work years ago. I worked for Progressive Insurance Claims, and we used to have this like monthly newsletter. And for the month of March, like March Madness tournament is going on. This girl they had this girl write the article for the sports section of the newsletter, and she wrote an article about March Madness, and then she wrote, March Madness is a tournament held every year in the NBA. I was like,
yeah.
Oh my God. They actually brought the news. They actually fixed it. Like they like rescinded it and sent it back out because of that. But yeah, it could be something like, I mean, there's a lot more people like that and what you're describing than I think we realize. So I think there's a lot of merit to what you're saying there, Bagley, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely true. They do this every year. Remember they had the Vikings going to the Super Bowl. Yeah. They do that all the time. Yeah, they also think the Packers are NFC dynasty or the Eagles back in the 2001 to 2004. Yeah. All right. Running backs, like McCaffrey is like obviously the guy you want to get to. I think it's difficult to get to him. He's $9,000. I think that McCaffrey and St. Brown, people are going to try to jam them in together. I think the correct move is to play only one of them because that means you don't have to go dumpster diving as much. If you play both of them, making a lineup is going to be extremely difficult without getting to like two garbage players. And like one garbage player is fine because like you're hoping for the touchdown. You're basically like it's almost playing like a lotto tickets. Like really, like with all these 3,000 guys, there's like 12 of them you could really realistically play. You're just hoping like the guy you pick scores a touchdown. Like if you're picking two, like you're like that is so much more difficult. Like you have to have both of them go off. Like I think that's a really bad build. I think a lot of people are going to do it, and I would just avoid it. So I'm going to play St. Brown over McCaffrey. I know it'll suck if McCaffrey gets to 30 plus points, But I think that with Detroit having the number one rush defense in the NFL, I think there's a chance McCaffrey gets like low 20s. Like if he gets like 20 fantasy points and 9,000, that's not going to cut it. So that's the direction I'm going. You could play Pacheco. The Q tag might scare people off. I think that I worry about the blocking, but I think Pacheco is so much more involved in the passing game ever since Jerick McKinnon went on IR. And the Chiefs are going to be behind in this game, unlike these two, because like he's had this might scare people off too. One target. But the Chiefs are never like really trailing in these two games. I think they're going to be trailing in these two games, kind of like they were here against the Packers and like the Raiders. I think Pacheco is going to get like 3 to 7 targets, and he might catch all of them. And so I think he's going to have a good DFS game. So I really like Pacheco. Getting to him, one of these Detroit backs makes sense to pair. You can even pair with Goff, like even Montgomery, who like doesn't make as much sense because he doesn't catch as many passes. But if you think about it, like if Goff has a great first half, throwing a couple touchdowns, then Montgomery, you can have Montgomery running in the second half and scoring touchdowns that way. The running back who stands out lower tier, Justice Hill. I'm gonna get to him. Ever since Keaton Mitchell got hurt, his production has gone through the roof. Like 22 fantasy points here. This he didn't play a full game, but 9.7 at 4,800. You know, if he gets 9.7 again, you're gonna be pretty happy. Yeah, like I said, his production has gone way up since Mitchell got hurt. So I think plugging in Hill makes a lot of sense. You can pair him with Jackson. Obviously, you can play him anywhere. What are you getting in your lineup? What do you have?
Right now, I've got Gibbs and Hill as my running backs. Okay. Thursday night after the show, before I knew more about the Pacheco situation, because I do think Pacheco is a good play. Especially if we think that Mahomes isn't going to have a lot of there might be check downs and sort of passes out of the backfield to Pacheco. There might be more of that. I think I'm going to ask it anyway. Would you play Gibbs or Montgomery? I think that the sexier pick is definitely Gibbs here. But do you think Montgomery seems to get in? I don't know their stats offhand. I feel like everyone's going to play Gibbs is what I'm getting at. You know what I mean? So do you think that's like it's too public of a play, or?
I don't think that a lot of people are going to play Gibbs, because what's going to happen is like if people are playing St. Brown and McCaffrey, and I expect McCaffrey to be like 80% owned. He was 81% owned last week in the 2 game slate. I think like those two guys together, it's going to be hard to also play Gibbs, especially because like people will want to play one of Kittle or Ayuk. So I think that like the most common pairing you're going to see is McCaffrey with Hill. Just because like Hill is so cheap, and I think people recognize that. I think Hill is the public play, but at 4,800, I don't think it's tough to avoid that with this build, because like there's no good value near the bottom, and like Hill is just the best value, and like it's gonna be tougher in the bus because he's involved in the offense and he's cheap. Like if he gets 6 or 7 fantasy points, like that's probably his floor, and like I can still win you the tournament. So I think that's what I don't think Gibbs is going to be that highly owned, is what I'm saying.
Okay, well that makes me feel better then. I just think too, like, are the Chiefs, if you think they're going to be down, if we think they're going to be down late and they're going to be trying to throw kind of to counter what I just said, do you think they're going to throw a lot to Pacheco, or do you think they're going to be looking towards Kelsey and the receiver? So, I mean, there's that to consider as well. I mean, I can't fit Pacheco in right now unless the lineup I have right now, I've got $800 remaining salary. So, I mean, we can get back to that.
Well, I mean, you could fit Pacheco. Pacheco's only $100 more than Gibbs, so you can certainly fit him in.
Oh yeah, but I want to keep Gibbs though.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, if the Chiefs are way behind, it's dump offs to Pacheco, especially with the offensive line having issues with Tooney out against the Baltimore pass rush. Like that's the one way to avoid the pass rush, is to dump off the ball to the running back, right? Because like Mahomes is just not going to have time in the pocket, I don't think. Like I said, I really think it might mirror that Super Bowl game. Can't Make an Eagle asking, before the games tomorrow, would you bet Baltimore to win Super Bowl at plus 170? Yeah, that's what I was talking about with hedging. I think I'm going to hedge with that. Going to try to find a better number than plus 170. I think like Bookmaker has I'm not mistaken. I think they have I think it's plus 174. It's plus 178 a bookmaker. So shop around. You might be able to find a plus 180, but certainly you're not going to get a 200, but you could have you could get there. You could get to 180 is what I'm saying. Devo's a bad shoulder. Detroit knows this. One big hit and he could not return. Yeah, for sure. Like I think he could get knocked out. We had some comments about that earlier too. Seahawks fan saying, I think Mahomes might have to dump it off a lot. Yeah, for sure. And now asking Pacheco's injury, any concern? So it's like a slight concern, but like I think you have to just take the chance. He was pretty optimistic that he was going to play on Friday. He's like, yeah, I'm definitely playing. I think like him not practicing was just like any running back this late in the year. Like I'm surprised that they're practicing, especially someone who's had a big workload like Pacheco recently. I don't think it's like that. It's not that much of a concern. I'm still going to play him, but it's still a little worrying, just a tiny bit. So Red Eye says Lions says MGM is Lions plus 500 to be the highest scoring team of the fourth Sunday with the flyer. Ravens are plus 75. I think that's 5-1's pretty good there.
I don't think that's bad.
Yeah, because like we expect them to win, so that means the Lions only have to outscore the Ravens Chiefs winner, and I think that's a good one actually.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a decent value for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Receivers. So as I said, everyone's going to try to play McCaffrey and St. Brown. I think you have to play one, but yeah, I think you have to choose which one you play. For me, it's St. Brown. I think he has like the 30-point upside that McCaffrey has, and he's 1,100 cheaper. And then you get to like Samuel, Ayuk. I think Samuel's gonna be super low owned. Everyone's gonna be playing Ayuk. So if you have Ayuk, you might consider going to Samuel. It's way riskier. So like again, if you're playing like higher stakes, like single entry stuff, I think I'd play Ayuk. If you're in the Millie contest, I'd play Samuel personally. Rashee Rice, I think like if Tooney were playing, I'd be more confident in this, but I don't know if Mahomes is going to have the time to necessarily hit him as often as he normally would. So I'm not super high on Rashee Rice, but I like him a little bit. Zay Flowers, as I said, I don't like him at all this week. Chiefs are great against number one receivers. And then you get to the dregs here. There's no one in the 5K range because all the Packers receivers were there and they're out. So Juwan Jennings, you can't play him with Debo back. Beckham, it's a great matchup for Beckham, but his snap count and route running last week was down. So like maybe I don't know what to make of that. Like, was that just a one game thing, or is that like here to stay? Because like Aguilar played more than him last week. Like, so like, and I'd have interest in one of them because the Chiefs, like as good as they are against number one receivers, they're terrible against number two receivers. So I kind of wonder about that. Like which receiver do you play? Do you play Beckham? Do you play Aguilar? Do you play Bateman? Bateman is like guaranteed to get you just 6 and only 6. Like just look at his stats, like 6, 9, 2, 4, 6. Like he's going to be in that range. He has no upside at all. Aguilar at least has touchdown upside. He's scored 5 times this year, but like that touchdowns just such high variance. You can't depend on that. Beckham is the best player of them, but like he's just not playing all the snaps. But like it wouldn't surprise me if he catches like a 60-yard touchdown in this game. So I have mild interest in all these guys, but I'm not super excited about them. Josh Reynolds is the cheap guy I want to play with Khalif Raymond out. Goff loves throwing to this guy. He's a deep threat. He can catch touchdowns. He can catch deep touchdowns. I mean, so like he has a chance to score 6 touchdowns on the year. Again, high variance, but Detroit's offense is pretty great, and Goff loves throwing to him, especially if Raymond's out. So I think Reynolds is like the cheapest guy I like the most. And then you get to Jameson Williams, who's so overrated. This guy does nothing. Everyone loves him because he went to Alabama. I've said this before. Like if he instead of Alabama, if he went to Northwest, Southwest San Diego State University, like no one would be playing him. It's just like the brand name recognition that you were talking about. Same thing. Like Jameson Williams, I think is so overrated. I would not want to get to him. And then here's your guy MVS. You made a good case for him. I think you can play him at 3,400. Like you don't need much from that. Justin Watson's in play because Kadarius Toney's out. Not very exciting. He could certainly get you a 0 like he did last week. I think that's definitely possible. Plus the Chiefs are going to have issues offensively. And then you get to the 3K guys. Miko Hardman's the only guy worth noting, but I think he sucks. I would not play him. So who do you have at receiver in your lineup?
Okay, well, the 3 receivers that I have right now, though, I think this is going to change, especially after what you said. I've got Ayuk, Bateman, and Rashid Rice. But I'm thinking about, because due to the on account of the case I made for MVS, maybe replacing Rice with MVS and then freeing up some more cap space and maybe putting St. Brown in there or something like that. Those are the 3 I have right now.
Yeah, I think I'll try to get to. Do you have McCaffrey or St. Brown in your lineup?
I do not.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what I would try to do. I try to pay up from Rice to St. Brown. But yeah, I mean, a bit like I said before, like Bateman is like one of 10 guys you can play in the 3K range or so, from 3,000 to 4,400. Like he just, I don't know, he just has no upside. But that 6 could get you there,
Right.
But yeah, Ayuk again, like Ayuk in small tournaments, this Debo in big tournaments for me. Rice is someone I have concern with, given the offensive line woes, but. I love him as a player. I just think that the Chiefs might be so limited offensively. It just really concerns me. I don't know how much of your lineup you want to reveal. So I think I'm gonna ask you to stop there unless you really want to give out your whole lineup. I don't like it's up to you.
Go ahead and we'll see how things, because it's not going to be finalized either. Like I'm already moving it around, so I'll let y'all know what I currently have, and it's guaranteed it's going to change. So.
Yeah. Let's see here. John says, if you're concerned about Pacheco's health, hit all overs on CEH. Man, CEH sucks so much. I don't want to root for him, but I definitely hear you there. Alan says, I love Reynolds this week. So many looks last week. Yeah, past 2 weeks. Like, actually past 3 weeks. Ever since Raymond got hurt, like Reynolds has been all over the place. Like, I think he's the best play in that low range. Charlie asking, hey Walt, I know you're not a big total guy, but didn't hear you guys mention if you had an opinion on the totals in either game. I'm not a big total guy. Like, I only bet totals if like there is weather involved or something like that, or if like it just seems really off to me, the total. I think the totals in these games are pretty on point. If I had to play one total, I think I would go Chiefs Ravens under, just because like with the Chiefs having offensive line issues against the great pass rush, I don't think the Chiefs are going to do much offensively, and the Ravens could really like run out the clock, and plus the Chiefs have a good defense too. So I think like I could see that game being like 24-10, right? Yeah, something like that, or even like 24-17 still under. So. Yeah, I think I would go that. The other game I would go over, if anything. I think 51 is a key number because 27-24 is a common result. So you'd have to have that over. It's a tough number. I would like it over if it was like 50, but 52 is kind of asking a lot. So yeah, like I said, under, if anything, under 44.5 on Chiefs Ravens, but I'm not like I said, I'm not going to bet it. So take it for what that's worth. Alan is saying Jameson over under 2.5 receptions cash last week. Does it again? Probably. I probably think so. Yeah. I just think that like he's going to get like 4 catches for 40 yards again. Like that's like what he's been doing. And if you're happy with the 8, and take the 8, but I think that there is more upside here to be had. Bagley says he usually puts those next to the game picks. Yeah, on the site. Yeah, usually for 0 units. Yeah, like there has to be a big edge for me to bet a total. Ertz is out, so how is he even on the board? Is Ertz out? I know that they signed him.
He's marked out on DraftKings at least. I just saw that just now.
I'm gonna double check. Zach Ertz. He's not even on the injury
report.
Questionable.
Questionable.
Okay.
He's listed as. At least on DraftKings DFS, he is.
He's not even on the injury report on the site. I'm gonna look at the Lions website real fast. I doubt we'll see him. Maybe he didn't activate him yet. That could be possible. Yeah, he's not listed on the Lions website. But they did sign him, so I assume that they just didn't activate him. But anyway, so we have Kelsey, Laporta, Kittle, Andrews. I would not play Kelsey. Like, people are going to look at those stats past 2 games, 14 and then 24.5. Like, these were against decrepit defenses, missing a lot of players. Ravens are really good against tight ends. Like, Kelsey would have to be priced at the same range as these other guys for me to consider him. Like, otherwise, I don't think there's a need to get to him. Because like Laporta's great, Kittle's great, Andrews might be limited, but if he's not, he's great. And then if you really want to punt, you have Noah Gray, 2,500. He's going to get you 3 or 4 fantasy points, which honestly that might just be enough. If you want to get McCaffrey and St. Brown in your lineup, you probably have to go that route or play a bunch of 3K guys. So it could be enough. Like, his 4 points could be enough, but I would actually try to play 2 of these tight ends, honestly. In my personal lineup right now, I have Laporta and Kittle both there. I just love their matchups. They should be priced higher, really. I mean, they are basically the 5K receivers, and they really should be 6K. They should be like 6,000 to 6,400. So I think this is where the value is, if anywhere on the slate. So. What do you think about tight end in your lineup?
Yeah, exactly what you said is exactly what I have. I've got Kittle and Laporta, one at tight end, one at flex. So let me ask you this. So just to make sure I understand, we're saying Ertz, he's questionable because you think he just hasn't been elevated yet. If Laporta got, I know he's been playing, but do we think he's at 100%? If remember he got hurt in that final game of the regular season, came back for the playoff games, but. Do you think there would be, like, as a punt, if something happened to Laporte, do you think Ertz, I feel like it's always risky taking like a player playing the first game with a team, but do you think if Ertz goes, like I said, he's listed as questionable now, do you think there'd be any merit to taking him there and, freeing up some more cash space?
Real quick. I just looked up on Twitter. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN says the Lions are not activating Zach Ertz off the practice squad for Sunday's title game. Ertz worked hard all week to get ready, but the team will hold him out. So there you go.
Okay. Well, that answers that.
Yeah. That's a shame. I wanted to see Ertz play, but apparently not. Yeah. They didn't activate him. Josh says Kelsey going to cook Kyle Hamilton so bad if they leave him 1-on-1. I don't know about that. The Ravens are really good against tight ends, I guess they're above average against tight ends. I don't really see that. I don't know. Justice Hill over 2.5 receptions again with limited options, and he's the dump off option. Yeah, I think that there's something to be had for Hill because Jarrett McKinnon's out. And so, I'm not Jared McKinnon. What am I saying? Keaton Mitchell's out. So, ever since he got injured, Justice Hill has increased his production. I don't think the algorithms have really caught on to that. So I think you might be onto something, Alan. Okay, so yeah, you like Laporte and Kittle. I'm leaning that way as well. And then you have the defenses. Really, you could go any direction with these defenses, people could probably figure out what you have for your defense, because you said you had what, 800 left over.
I have Lions defense in there now,
right. So yeah, if you could do the math there and figure out what you have. I don't think it matters what defense you play. I personally would not play Chiefs, just because I don't see Lamar Jackson having a bad game, but I think any of the other 3 defenses make sense. My favorite defense this week is the Ravens, if you can get to them, but if you can't, Lions is my second favorite. So, yeah, I mean that is where I'm leaning with DFS. Your lineup here, I worry about the upside with no St. Brown and no McCaffrey. And if you want to tinker with this, now this is not necessarily what you would do. However, if you want to, just off the top of my head, like if you want to go, if you want to drop Rashee Rice, and you said you were not as high on him, if you want to go to, let's see here, like you're talking about MVS, right?
Right. Yeah.
Going to MVS, you have 3,900 left over. That opens up, obviously that opens up McCaffrey if you want him, and 9,000. You even have 1,300 left over. If you don't want McCaffrey, if you want to have you had Gibbs there, right? So,
right.
if you want to upgrade Ayuk to St. Brown, you'd have 2,900 left over. Can you still do that? Yeah. So you could do this. You can go Jackson, McCaffrey, Hill, St. Brown, MVS, Bateman, Laporta, Kittle, Lions defense. So this is what I'm talking about. Well, like it's tough to get McCaffrey and St. Brown in the same lineup because you have to play two garbage guys. You have MVS and Bateman, and then you also have Justice Hill. It was like I wouldn't say he's like a punt garbage guy, but like he's just like not. Like he doesn't have that like high ceiling that that one of the other running backs has. So it's a tough build to get both these guys in your lineup. Plus, like I said, McCaffrey's going to be 80% owned, and like everyone's going to try to jam this. Like everyone in the $1 million contest is like most people are going to have this. So I think to differentiate yourself, you have to like bite the bullet and not play one of these guys.
I think I'd rather play St. Brown than
right.
McCaffrey.
Right.
Personally.
Yeah, me too. So I mean that's where I stand with this. If you want to now let's take McCaffrey out and see what happens. Let's see what happens there. So you put Gibbs back in. You have 2,900 left over. So if you want to upgrade Bateman, you can get back to Rashee Rice.
Do you think, real quick to interject? I know you said you don't like Juwan Jennings, but do you think like what kind of contest would there be like any merit to putting him in there? Like let's say if you think Debo's not going to be as active, or is of course if he's not 100%, there's a chance hopefully never want anyone to get hurt, but if he got hurt, then could we see Jennings? I guess the obvious answer is yes. If he's probably going to see some more looks as a result, but that's you're counting on a few things to happen there, I suppose. But what do you think about that?
The problem is like Jennings is already priced up to 4,600. Like he's priced up as if Debo's out. So like you're going to be paying a lot for this guy. You're paying premium price for a guy who's not good. And like that's an issue. Like his ceiling is like 11 or 13. Like and like at 3,600 when he was before, that was fine. But now he's 4,600. And at 4,600 to get 3x value, you need 13, 14, and like that is his absolute ceiling. So you're going to need Debo to get hurt for Jennings to have a chance to get his ceiling. Like that, like that's a pretty tough ask. I think. Like I don't think Jennings is playable at 4,600. I'd rather take a shot with Beckham at 4,400, or Josh Reynolds here at 4,000. I think it's a great option. So here we run into the problem that so let's put Bateman back there. Here we run to the problem. So like we took out McCaffrey, go down to Gibbs, and like you could take out Bateman to go to Rashee Rice, but like I really don't like that play. And like this is the problem with the Jackson lineups is when you have Jackson, St. Brown, like you still have these two garbage players in your lineup, like you could take one of them out for Rice, but like Rice doesn't have a great matchup either, and you just can't get to Ayuk that way. I suppose you could take out MBS, go to Hardman, and upgrade Rice to Ayuk, but I'd rather much play MBS than Hardman.
Yeah,
Hardman's just a terrible player. Like
I'm not going to put Hardman in there. What about a tight end we didn't bring up? I don't think that he has the best matchup. What do you think about Likely subbing out? I mean, it's going to be hard for me to get away from Laporta and Kittle. I agree with what you said that they're like wide receivers pretty much in the 5,000 range. But to let me see where he's priced at. I actually haven't. I just thought of this just now.
Well, he's 43. He's 4,300, but like look at his production when Andrews played. Like 1.83, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2, 8.2, 1.5, 0, and then that's when this is the game where Andrews got hurt. Like he's not going to do anything if Andrews is out there. Right. Like he's the direct backup, and like he'll catch a pass or two. But man,
what about Andrews then?
Well, that's the thing. Like you could certainly play Andrews, but they said that there was a report from the Athletic, and maybe you don't want to trust the Athletic, but they said that there's a chance that Andrews is going to be limited in this game. Now that could mean he plays 80% of his usual snaps instead of 100%. That he usually does. But like we just don't know. It's a big question mark. It's a risk. But if you're willing to take the risk, it could pay off. He could catch 2 touchdowns. Like if he plays 80% of snaps, he can still score twice. Like this guy is is Lamar Jackson's favorite weapon. So
yeah.
So like a lot to think about for sure. Let me see if we have any more comments. See, screaming A. Smith has never said anything wrong about anything. Oh, there we go. Stephen A. Smith said only God can stop Lamar Jackson this week for what it's worth.
Okay,
well,
noted.
The Chiefs signed him. Ravens are up to -4.5 on DK. Yeah, it's creeping up there. Like I said, going to lock this in at 4. BetMGM still is 4. Bookmaker still is 4 -113. So still some options for sure. All right. So are you thinking about anything else here? Like, any other pivots you want to make?
Let me see something here. I'm moving things around. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Okay. So let's say we do this. All right. Now this leaves me with exactly 0.
Okay.
The wide receivers, Ayuk, St. Brown, MVS, tight ends, Kittle and Andrews. And then I'm still able to leave Gibbs and Hill in there.
Okay. Yep. I think this, if you're confident in MVS, I think it's a really good lineup. I think that, yeah. I mean, like Andrews could get there, like I said, with 2 touchdowns. It's a Jackson +2. And you could, he could dump passes off the hill for sure. He could dump passes off the hill and throw touchdowns to Andrews. It's like the perfect recipe there. And plus, you're go ahead.
I am very. I don't know if I'm going to end up going with this, just because this does make me nervous with Andrews. And same thing with Deebo Samuel. If I play him in a lineup, it's if they end up getting re-aggravated injury, then your lineup's going to be toast, especially in a 2-game slate here. So. I don't know.
I think this is a perfect lineup for the $1 million contest because people are going to be concerned with Andrews, so he's not going to be as highly owned as the other tight ends. And Jahmyr Gibbs, like I said, I don't think he's going to be as highly owned. And plus, you don't have McCaffrey. It's like those 3 things. I think add up to like a good contrarian lineup that makes sense. I think this is a really good lineup.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I will likely change it around. I'll sub out likely for sub unlikely for. No, yeah, I'm sure I'll make some more edits and play around with some things. But this was really helpful, Walt, for someone who's not, I'm not very good at NFL DFS, as I mentioned. So definitely giving me a little more confidence for sure.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is a really good lineup for a $1 million contest. For higher stakes, I would take issues playing with Andrews because he has higher risk. But you can still do it. I'm not the big MVS fan, but like I said, if you like MVS, this could really pay off. So, yeah, I like it.
All right, cool.
Okay. Let's see here. What about Donovan Peoples-Jones? I want he like for him to get there, he has to return a punt for a touchdown, and like that could do it, I guess, but. I like it's so disappointing that they traded for Peoples-Jones and they haven't used him at all. I think that they should. I don't know. I guess they should try. He has some upside. Although he does drop a lot of passes. So, all right. Anything else before we sign off?
I think that's about it. I'm definitely going to be playing with my lineups a little bit and maybe enter a couple more. But I appreciate the help here, Walt. For I guess I'd consider myself a novice here with NFL DFS at least. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just plug my. I'm going to be on Twitch here probably 30 minutes to an hour after the show ends. For those who don't know, I do stream. I've been streaming Super Mario Kaizo hacks. For those who might not know what that is, they're fan-made Super Mario games, and they're incredibly difficult. But I've been ripping through. I ripped through 3 hacks already in a week, and the streams are just kind of similar to this. It's someone told me it was quite a compliment that my streams are like a FaceTime call, with just like video games going on in the background. So it's just a lot of just banter and that sort of thing with me playing the game in the background. Give me a follow on there. I also stream on TikTok, and I've been, and on Twitter, QuackyTake on Twitter, and hope to see some of you out there on the streams or on Twitter. So appreciate the support.
Yeah, definitely check out QuackyTake. I'll tweet out that link when he goes live, and definitely watch those Mario hacks. They're a lot of fun. It's like I get frustrated watching them, but like it's really cool how you progress progress through them. They're really cool.
Yeah.
So
And the funny thing about it too is like if you've never played them, you might watch and like every now and then I'll have. I mean, I don't care. I like getting trolled a little bit and roasted a little bit too. So, but sometimes people are like, "You're not very good at this." It's like, so it's like, oh yeah, like I know. Like, how long have you been playing Kaizo hacks? Like, oh,
yeah.
I don't. Like, yeah, exactly. You know, so.
I've never lost a life in Kaizo hacks.
Yeah. So it's just funny, but you know that sort of thing doesn't rattle me. I welcome it, in fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. It doesn't look, but just like shell jumps, picking up, bouncing them off the wall, jumping, and then like there's really no time to like take a. You have to like keep moving forward in a lot of the levels. So.
Riri, or I think that's how you pronounce it. Who do you like more, Samuel or Ayuk? So I think I said this. I play Samuel in the Millie contest. Any contest with like 10,000 or more entries. And I play Ayuk more in higher stakes contests, like fewer people. In a vacuum, I like Ayuk better. Well, first of all, Samuel may not be 100%. He could, as someone suggested, leave the game if he lands on his shoulder, or like take a big hit from Anzalone. And like I think Ayuk just he matches up so well. Ayuk is better against man defenses, and Detroit plays a lot of man. And I think that like Mike Evans, what he did last week is kind of like a blueprint for what Ayuk could do. So like I was saying Samuel in the Millie contest because it just leveraged against Ayuk. Ayuk is gonna be super highly owned. Samuel's a little bit more expensive. He's banged up. Like no one's going to want to play Samuel, especially if they're trying to jam in McCaffrey and St. Brown. So like I said, like Samuel's like the leverage play that you want in a high high entry field. Whereas like Ayuk, I think Ayuk makes more sense schematically. And I think like if you were to simulate this game like 40,000, 50,000 times, like I think Ayuk is going to have better performances than Samuel, but like obviously you're only playing it once and you only need Samuel to beat him once. And if Samuel beats Ayuk and you have him in your Millie contest, like you're going to be looking pretty good. So yeah. So I'm playing in the SPY, the single entry. It's $100 entry with 50,000 the first. Ayuk is definitely going to be in my lineup there, but I usually enter the same lineup into the Millie, but like I might swap to Samuel just for differentiation there in the Millie contest. So hope that answers your question. And good luck to everyone. Good luck with your picks. Good luck with the props. Good luck with the DFS contest. Check out Quacky when he goes live. Like I said, I'll have the link on Twitter. And yeah, great conversations with everyone. Thanks for everyone for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much to Chris for his super chat, for 1999 super chat. Really appreciate that. Yeah, we'll be back on Tuesday with Jacob to have a Super Bowl preview of sorts, not necessarily our pick because we may not know who we like or that early, but we'll be talking about the coaching stuff as well on Tuesday. Normal schedule as usual next week. I think for the most part, I'll definitely know by Tuesday. But yeah, once again, thanks everyone. Thanks Tom for joining me for tonight's show. Great.
Thanks everybody. Appreciate the support and everything. So good to hang.
Yeah, great as always talking to you on the show. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys on Tuesday.
All right. See you guys later.